All right, give us a hand. I'm really glad you're here. All right, this is a very important session because it deals with biblical research, dealing with artifacts. Okay, now artifacts are very important, so I'm going to give you an introduction. How many have ever went to Taco Bell? I went to Taco Bell. How many enjoy one of their delicious tacos? You notice you didn't raise your hands, except maybe one or two, right? Because from a person from Mexico would never consider that a what? It's not a taco. It just ain't, right? That is not a taco. All right, so we have this interesting challenge is that if you're from a culture that has tasted a taco and has eaten a taco and you like tacos, you are highly what? Insulted by that. It's just not a taco. I don't what you call it. So to say something, this is where the problem comes in because if you'd never known a real taco, how would you know that it was false? You wouldn't know. And if that's all you knew was that, that was, that thing as calling a taco, and that's all you knew, when someone says, well, this is a taco, what would you say? No. This is a taco, and you go, no, it's not. It's just not, right? Is that making sense? So if you want to know what a taco is, you need to go back to Mexico and have a real taco. But what happens if Mexico disappears? And all you know is this thing that is being pronounced as a taco, right? And it's Taco Bell. Obviously, they sell tacos. That is not a what? But how would you know otherwise? You see the problem. Now, this is very important when in biblical research, because you're going to find out, as I'm going to show you step by step, is the fact that what we know and what is don't line up at all. Zero. So the God of the Bible is totally unknown. We may think we know. We may assume we know. We may speak with the same words that we think we know, but we don't. And this is what the biggest challenge is, because when I teach the word, people go, oh, all right, I got it. No, you don't. You have to put it to the what? To the test. Just knowing it is insufficient. You can take a young child, a young girl, say 7 years old, and ask her, do you know what being a mommy is all about? She says, yeah. Does she? Nope. But for her point of view, she's absolutely certain she is fully qualified to be a mommy. Does that make sense? So there's a real problem here about what is real and what is perceived. So what I'm going to open up today is the difference. I'm going to going to build a little crack so you can see that there's a big difference between what we've been shown by the world, that Taco Bell taco, and the real deal. Does that help? Make an analogy here. You like the Taco Bell tacos? Oh, okay. I thought maybe I was offending you. Okay. All right, so everybody ready? Father, thank you for the greatness of your word and for this opportunity to teach. Thank you for helping me to speak that which is correct, to be able to speak it with precision, to be able to open the hearts of your people to see, perceive, and know the greatness of your truth and to walk with you, to walk in the footsteps of your firstborn from the dead, our risen and returned Lord Jesus, your anointed. Okay, y'all ready? All right, I just want to warn you, seatbelts on, because you're going to need, this is going to really amaze you. All right, here we go. Now, dealing with this, and you can get the same library I've got. I mean, it's not hard to do. You can go and get all the research books from Cambridge, and you can get all the works from Bollinger, and you can get all the works from Pillai. You can also go to the Blood Covenant by, Trumbull, right. And you can buy all these books, but you're going to spend a lot of money, a lot of time, and you're not, you still have to work it, you still have to test it, you still have to verify it. So the library I've got, I'm very thankful for, but the truth far exceeds that, and I'm giving you the truth. So here we go. Let's give you an idea. Now, since the time of Christ and the time of Abraham, things have changed, or haven't you noticed? There's a big difference. So when you see the Bible, you have to look at what is it quoting, what was happening in that time frame. So you kind of like have to be an expert between 29 BC and 250 AD. You have to know that, like the back of your hand. Okay, what's that? Oh, it's in my back of my hand. You know, you've got to really master it. Does that make sense? All right. So an ancient artifact. So let's start off here. This is only 800 years old, right? 800 years ago, this was prevalent all over the Roman Empire. And since we're Greeks and Romans, we should know what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, and can you tell me what it is? What is it? Do you know what this is? Everybody in the Roman Empire knew what this is. This was everywhere. Homes, on the seashores and fishing villages. Every military outpost had one. It was even found in gold one was found in a treasury amongst coins and precious gems. So, and they come in all kinds. They got stone, they've got bronze, they've got gold. So what's the deal? And they find them all the way across the Roman Empire. So this is the most common thing you could possibly have if you were Roman. And today, as Greeks and Romans in the present era, what the heck is that? How about, oh, it comes in different sizes. That's what's so weird about this. No two are alike. But generally, they're about this size. All right, so what is this? How many have been to school? Anyone been to college? Anyone take history? Didn't you come across this? No. All right, if you go to school and you study archaeology, even for your first semester, you're going to learn about the Roman dodecahedron, all right? That's what science calls this, because we haven't got a clue what the heck it is. So we give it a name. It's called the dodecahedron. Now do we know what it is? What is it? You know, especially since it's found like everywhere, and it's treasured and protected. It's even found in burial, when people buried themselves. Well, they didn't bury themselves. Someone else buried them. But when you dig up you find those in there. So what's the deal? Why is this thing so precious? It's put with gems. It's put with coins. It's considered extremely important treasure. Yet we have no clue what it's about. We have all kinds of ideas. Maybe it's a toy. Maybe it's we have all, if you were to look this on the internet, you're going to find everybody and his brother has an idea what it is. But all of them fail. There's no way to know what this thing did or how it was used. All right? Don't know. All right? So if I ask you how and for what purpose it is used, and you're not alone, because neither does anybody else. So don't feel bad. Don't feel dumb, because if you're dumb, then so is everybody else. Because nobody knows. All right, let's try another one. What's this? What's this? How many know what this is? Come on, you're Greeks and Romans. This is the culture you were brought up in. It's a hook. It's a hook. No, what is it? It's a tool. Oh, that's very perceptive. All right, so it's a tool of some kind. And it's used for what? To hang something, all right. To hang something, especially someone you don't like. Okay, I got that. So what is this for? What would you think, being a Greek and Roman, it would be used for? So you don't know what this is, but what it is called is a strigil, right? Now, strigil is kind of cool because we know what this is. A strigil is used, all right, how many here have ever seen, what kind of soap did the Romans use? At the time of Christ, what soap did the Romans use? No soap. Soap, pardon? No soap at all. No, that was to clean their clothes, was urine. They washed their clothes in urine. That's not, the Jews didn't, but the Romans did. I heard that the planet Uranus is passing gas. All right. That was on the science news I just got. So, it's called a strigil. Do you know what a strigil is? The answer is no. Would you like to know? All right. This is the bar of soap. This is the bar of soap. All right. How many women use those little spongy scrapers, right? Those spongy scrapers, and you go like this and it takes off. It's deforestation. No, deforestation. What's it called? Defoliation. That's right. Removes the top layers of your skin. Right. But it's something that the women use to look rosy red or whatever. Okay. So that is used to take off the top layers of skin. I mean, the dead skin, not the first thing. All right. How and what is it used for? Well, we know what the Greeks would do, and the Greeks and the Romans would do, was especially after a rigorous exercise where you ran or you wrestled or whatever, that you had sweat on your body. What they would do is they take a jar of oil and they would mix it with pumice, right? Volcanic pumice, and they would rub it into their whole bodies, all over their body. So they look like a big oiled. In fact, even our athletes today do what? Oil themselves. So it's no different. And they oil themselves, and then they use this to scrape it off. Yeah, this one's bronze. That's bronze. They have all different types. But, I mean, if you were really rich, you would have gold, silver. This one's bronze, which is most common. And they're all shaped like this, but have different handles and stuff like that. So, how do we know this? All right, so what's wrong? So let's review something here, okay? How is it that we know why the strigil is used? How is that possible? Well, it's like really simple. Well, I'm going to show you. And we haven't a clue about why the dodecahedron is used. So we have this. I'll show you the different types. See that one? That one? That one? They're like, there's hundreds of them, all right? And there's hundreds of this. But we know what this is, but we haven't got a clue about this. Why? What's the problem? So how is it we know how and why the strigil is used, but we haven't got a clue as to how and why the dodecahedron is used? And by the way, that's our name for it, because there's no way to know what it's called. Strigil is what they called it. So here's a guy, an athlete, sitting there cleaning him, with this. And we also have another one. So we kind of figured it out, how it works, right? And we also have actual statues of someone actually doing it. So we kind of figured it out. And there's lots of writing about how to scent it, how to add, how much pumice to use, what type of oil to use. Olive oil was chosen. And how to add different components to it to give yourself a certain scent or aroma or stink, whatever you'd like to call it. Some of those are pretty bad. All right, so that's why we know what this is, right? Everybody understands? We know what a strigil is. Ta-da! We got lots of references and lots of texts. But what about this? And the answer is no clue. No idea. It's like in zero. There's nothing written about it. There's no statues, no texts, nothing. Obviously, it was quite common. But nobody knows what it's for. So, if 1,000 years from now, people found some of the things you have, would they have a clue as to what it's used for? You ever think about that? 1,000 years from now, what do you own or have that people would go, what the heck is that? What was this used for? Especially if there's nothing written about it. No examples of it, no statues, nothing of it. We have a lot of that stuff. Like a cassette deck. Right? A TV antenna. What's that for? A rotary phone. What's that for? All right. So we have no idea what this is because nothing's written about it. We have no examples. We have nothing to go by. All right. So now let's look at the other aspect. Now the subject matter is the Word of God. So why is there a difficulty with the Bible? You ever thought about that? Why is there like 20,000 different concepts of what the Bible's talking about? And why is there this discrepancy? What's so difficult about it? Well, because the Hebrew sect of the Nazarene, which is what Christians were called, the original, not the Taco Bell version, but the regular, it was called the sect of the Nazarene, was sought after and what? Destroyed. Number one, because they were Jewish, and they just wiped out the Jewish Jerusalem. First Jerusalem was massacred in 69 AD, killing all men, women, and what? Children. And then every year after that, people came in going, what happened to the city? And they would get killed. And then there was a revolt, and they were taken out, and another revolt, and then finally everybody was no longer existent. What happened to their books? They were destroyed. What happened to the people that lived there? Well, the city was wiped out and rebuilt in the image of Rome. So, first Jerusalem was massacred in 69 AD. Well, we still had Christians in what we call Asia Minor, which we call today Turkey. That's the name of the country, not an animal. Okay. First Jerusalem was massacred, now followed by the total conquest of Asia Minor. From that point on, from 69 AD, after Jerusalem and all the gold was taken, became a massive attack on Asia Minor and just cleaned its clock. By 133 AD, 89% of the whole Asia Minor was already destroyed, and all the cities destroyed and rebuilt. What about the books? What about the manuscripts? What about gone, wiped out? All the people were wiped out. So we have a real problem here when we try to understand something that there's no reference points for. Does that make sense? So there's nothing about the blood covenant. It doesn't even talk about it. By the way, the blood covenant was outlawed. If you participated in the blood covenant, you were put to death, capital punishment. Period. Was not allowed. So by actually being a Christian, you were a member of the what? The blood covenant. You've actually committed yourself to death. The second thing that was rather intense was, now I'm just listing all the cities that were wiped out. These were all Christian centers. They were all wiped out. Every one of them. Pooh. That's it. All Christianity gone. This is why it's so hard to get back to the meaning of the words, because they don't have a reference point. So why, this is like, what is the reason for this slaughter? Well, one of the reasons, besides the blood covenant and a few other things, is this phrase right here. Didn't that make sense? Yeah, that's looks Greek to me. Oh. The beginning of the proclamation of the good news about Jesus Christ, Son of what? God. Isn't that cool? There you go. Now, archetu. Now listen to the word, evangelio. That's where we get the word good news, gospel. That comes from here. Okay. Now let's watch what was set up by Octavian. This is his proclamation in the province of Turkey that would belong to Rome at that time, which was very small and insignificant. But nonetheless, it was posted there by Octavian, which was called Augustus, which means Lord, right? When you look at, all right, does anybody know why the Romans used to have the first month, second month, third month, fourth, and then they named them. What happened to July? How come it was turned to the name of July? Does anybody know? Julius Caesar, that's right. Julius Caesar was named after him, right? Now, what about Octavian? When Octavian came into place, his name was Augustus, which means Lord, and we named the month of August, which is the 8th month, after him, because he was God on earth. So July was named after Julius Caesar, the first god on earth, according to the Romans, and then Octavian was the second god on earth. So this is where the problem comes in. The usages of words are identical. This was given to the Greek people, the people of Asia Minor, who spoke what? Greek. And they refused to speak Latin. So a proclamation was made there in Greek. So I'm not going to go through the Greek. I'm just going to it's already translated into English for you. So the inscription is the Pyrenean inscription, a calendar inscription in 9 BC when it was set up. Now, why is this such a big propaganda thing? Because everybody knew the Messiah was about to be born. When you go back to 20 BC, it was 30 BC, everybody knew the Messiah was coming. Everybody. Well, how is that possible? From India all the way through, because the astrology was a forecast of the coming Messiah. That's why it starts off in Virgo, virgin, and ends in Leo, the lion. And Persia was coming and awaiting the coming Messiah. And that's why you see the lion, which is devouring their symbol was the lion devouring the bull. But nonetheless, they were great into the zodiac, and they pinpointed the time, and this is where they were expecting the Messiah. This was posted by the time Jesus was at least 6 or 7, when this was posted, saying the Messiah has been brought forth, and that's what this is all about. And it has nothing to do with the Eastern culture. It came out of Rome. Got it? All right. So here's the inscription. I pulled it away so you could easily read it. It reads as follows: Apollonius of Menophilius Azanitas, since province. Province is Diana, right? The female god. Which has ordered all things and is deeply interested in our life, has set in most perfect order by giving us Augustus. And that is the word Sebastian, right? Where we get the word Sebastian from, which means Lord, right? But in the Greek, it's Sebastian. So that's what Augustus is. In Greek, it comes out to be my Lord, or our Lord. Whom she, referring to Providence, which became Diana, and then later on became Mary, but has sent forth the most perfect order by giving us Augustus, whom she filled with virtue, that he might benefit mankind, sending him as a what? Savior. That's the word sotera. Both for us and for our descendants, that he might end war and arrange all things, peace on earth. Did it end all wars? No, he started most of them. All right. And arrange all things, and since he, Caesar, by his appearance, Epiphanes, that means there's just, whoa, right? Excelled even our anticipations, surpassing all previous benefactors, not even leaving to prosperity any hope of surpassing what he has done. And since the birthday of the god Augustus, was the beginning of the good tidings, Evangelios, for the world, that came by reason of him. The world would not exist if it wasn't for Lord Caesar. He brought it into existence. Now, what if you said this is bullshit? You were dead. By the time 29 AD comes around, there were 200 people declaring themselves the Messiah. From the Essenes, the Pharisees, the Herodians, all of them had a Messiah. And each one was taken and put to death. Every one of them tortured and put to death. Only one got up from the dead, which means it ruins your whole day if you're trying to kill this guy. Kind of hard to kill someone who's still alive. So this is the situation. Now, when Jesus was like 6 or 7, this was posted. Bang, there is no other Messiah but Augustus. Anything contrary to that? You had to prove that you were God by suffering great, terrible torture and death. And they all failed except one, who got up from the what? The dead. Evangelion. Okay, so now you've just read the Greek inscription. I thought you might get a kick out of that. That's what you can all look this up. I'm not BSing here. This is the way it is. Okay, to understand the scriptures, we have to go east beyond the limits of the ancient what? We got to, because everything else was put to destruction, burned, destroyed, and redone, and that includes Ephesus. Totally redone in the image of Rome. Nothing stayed the same. So we can't find anything that supports anything contrary to Caesar being the Messiah. Got the problem here. Romans 12, 19 through 20. Here we go. Right? And I'm going to explain these awkward verses. All right? So you understand. Dearly beloved, and that's agapetos. Remember, I covered that for you before. Avenge not yourselves. Don't take revenge on anybody. How many have ever been wronged by somebody? Yeah, right? So what do? I'm going to get even. You don't do that. God, what? Takes care of it. You don't have to do anything. Avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written. Now here, Paul in Romans chapter 12 gives another quote. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. All right? Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire and say, yeah, finally revenge. No, that's not how it works. That's not what it's about. People do dumb stuff. How many have done dumb stuff and hurt people? Without even knowing that you did, right? So don't worry about it. Stay centered, stay focused, and keep your eye on God, on his word, and the example that we got. Does that make sense? Did Jesus offend people? All the time. Did Paul offend people? All the time. Especially when you're dealing with different cultures, different people, you're going to wind up, how many people did I offend in Japan? Everybody. I was trying to learn. I was trying to express myself. Toast. All right. But anyway, so he's quoting. Where is he quoting from? Seriously, he's quoting. It is what? Where is it written? Paul is, and we're talking here, Paul, and this is like 40 AD, is quoting the scriptures. But where is this written? Old Testament, that's pretty good, okay. Isaiah, no, earlier than that. Pardon? Proverbs. You're probably right. Okay. Probably right. Proverbs 25, 21, and 22. If thy enemy hunger, give him what? Bread to eat. That's what it says. What's bread? If thy enemy hunger, give him bread to eat. And if he be thirsty, give him what? Water to drink. What's water? What does it represent? Remember the metaphors, all these things are done in what? Parables, right? And what kind of parables? Similes, right? Allegories or metaphor? Is there a metaphor? Is water a metaphor for something? Is bread a metaphor for something? Please keep your metaphors in mind. So, as Proverbs says, for thou shalt. That's an order. This is a commandment. Where? In Proverbs. To do what? Heap coals of fire upon his head. What? You're going to feed him, then you're going to give him the drink, and then you're going to dump hot coals on his head? No, what is wrong with this? There's got to be some what? Now, does this fit Rome in 40 AD? Heck no, it don't. It doesn't match at all. So where the heck does he get this from? Proverbs. Well, how old is Proverbs? Can you say Abraham? All right, repeat after me. Abraham, right? Or Job, right? That's their scriptures. So this goes back, way back. Like how back? Way back, right? For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee. So you give him, there's your enemy. What do? You give him bread to eat. And then you give him water to drink. And then you hope peas? No, you hope what? All right, heap coals of fire on his head. And God rewards you. Does that sound absolutely insane or what? I mean, you understand there's a problem here. Well, let's go back to when Paul wrote this. What do we have? Nobody's doing that. So we can't use, now we're really stuck. Well, no, we're not stuck. We need to go outside the Roman what? Empire, because the Eastern culture was prevalent all the way from the Levant all the way across to India. India. And that's about to change as India becomes modernized and all these ways are gone. But anyway, so let's take the word upon his head, right? What does it mean upon his head? Now here we go. We've given him what? Water. Because he what? He was thirsty. We've given him bread to eat. Why? Because he's what? Hungry. And we've given him what? Coals of fire. And the Lord shall reward thee. Does that help? Think. All right, let's try it again. Upon his head. The only oddball here is if thy enemy hunger, give him bread upon his head. No. You see, these things here, and hunger, give him what? Bread. And thirst, give him what? Water. And then the need is not mentioned. The need is not mentioned, but upon his head is. And the Lord shall reward thee. Does that help a little bit more? Okay, let's go a little step further. This is how people during the time before Rome carried things. In fact, other nations did. Just Rome just had their way, and their way was the only way. So, but even today, people carry large stacks of weight, as much as their own weight and more upon their what? Their head. And you can see people doing this all the time. When we were in the Malaysian islands, which is the Philippines encounters too, that women would be carrying these massive things on their head. Not as safe. I'm just saying, they'd be carrying heavy, 5, 10 gallon buckets or containers on their head, and they'd be walking along. So they did miles. And that's what's so amazing is the men would do, but the men would be using more, they would have more intense stuff to carry in their head rather than laundry and stuff like that. No, not everybody can afford a donkey. Do you use your Lexus? No, you can't afford a Lexus. Right? People think that everybody had a donkey. Everybody has an ass, but not a donkey, right? Nobody, if you could afford one, it wasn't like it was cheap. I've got a picture of people like in Bangladesh and some of the others, like even in Malay, where the women are the ones, because a man has more than one wife, so he's the one that pilots it, and the women act like the oxen and pushing. Sometimes the men are pushing, and the man is in charge of other men pushing it. Do you understand? Because you can't afford a what? An ox. It wasn't like, well, I just take out credit. There is no credit. There is no credit. You don't have the money, you can't get it. This concept of credit is not biblical at all. Zero. You don't have the money, you don't get it. So did everybody have a donkey? No. Does everybody have a Lexus? No. And if you do, you're not going to be able to buy anything else because you got to make the payments on that thing. All right, so everybody didn't have a. How much was a camel? How much would it cost you for a camel? You got to understand. How much did a whole week's worth of work cost? What did you get for that? You earned. That's why in the Bible it talks about he sent them out to work for a penny. Equivalently, that's what it comes out to be. 1/100 of an ounce. To 1 day's of work. That's pretty common. So everything's relative. You know, oh, there's my Uncle Bob. No, everything is related to the time period it's in, right? All right, so that's how things are done. All time of Abraham, all in that time period of Job, all the way through, and even on the outskirts outside the Roman Empire during the time of Jesus Christ and the Apostle Paul. All right, now here's women. What are they carrying? The most valuable thing there is. Coal. Where are they carrying it? On their heads. So who carries the coal? The women do. They take it from the coals and they bring it to the villages. Do we do this? No. You ever seen Patricia try and put something on her head and walk with it like the other women did? Did not work. She could not do it. That doesn't mean she didn't try, but it was just like, oh, my neck. Kind of like you have to work up to it and got to make sure your body's totally straight when you walk. Because if you go like this, you're really toast. These women have like perfect posture. I wonder why. Snap, crackle, pop. Oh, my back, you know. All right. People say, all I got to do to have perfect posture is put a book on your head and walk. If you can do that and the book not fall off, then you should be able to go to the next stage. All right, but you understand these things are not lightweight. These things are heavy. I have a 5-gallon container of water. Put that on your head. All right. So wait a minute, but it doesn't say a woman. It says a what? A man. What the heck's the deal here? And you don't put coal, you put what? Burning coals. And you don't give him one, you what? Heap it onto him. Why? Because he what? If he's hungry, so therefore he needs the what? The bread. If he's thirsty, you give him what? Water. Why? He's thirsty. He needs the water. If you're going to give him hot coals, then he must what? Need it. Even though he's your enemy, you still give it to him, and God will reward you. You understand? So what the heck is, but you understand, who carries the coal? The women do. Where's the man? He is responsible for the house. Anyone fails in that house, he gets the punishment, not the women. Anything goes wrong, he has to pay the penalty. It's a totally different culture. Obviously, this is not what? Greek and Roman. So let me explain what's going on, okay? When these little villages didn't hold more than 150 people, right? There's usually a well that they draw water from. And only the people of that village could take that water. If you come to a village and there's a well there and you're thirsty, you can't touch that well. You cannot. Someone from the village has to offer it to you. Does that make sense? You can't just go in there and say, well, I'm thirsty. I'm going to get myself some water. Man was found dead today next to the well. You don't touch people's wells, right? The other thing is that every morning they take of the coal that the women brought, and they light it off, and they put things you can burn, and then they have the coals in there, and then the coals get hot, and you have all this ash. And what you do is you put it. You have a little bowl that each family brings, and they bring it there, and they take of the coals out of that whole group there. Take one out and put it in the what? Your bowl, and off you go home, and you start your fire so that the women can cook, and you can do all the things you need, boil water, whatever you have to do. So that's why it's important that you have coals. But if you do something wrong, if anyone in your household does something wrong in any way and dishonors his house, he can no longer go and get the burning embers, the burning coals. 0. So what does he do? So he can't go there. His family, his children, his wives, they usually have more than one, are in major distress because there's no heat, there's nothing to cook with, and they can't cook their food. They're in deep shit. That's a figure of speech. Like Jeremiah was in that situation. All right, so what do? When the judges at the head of the city's gate, whatever, the village gate, they declare him as being wrong and evil, then he no longer can go there to support his family or to get the things he needs. He can't work with the other men, can't do anything. He has to beg. And he sits on the side, and he's sitting on the side with his legs crossed, he's in prayer, and he puts the bucket on his head. He's not allowed to touch the village fire, can't get anything out of it, so he's sitting there. He still can get water, but not the fire. So he's out there asking for people to help him. And people coming back from the village fire would see him and go, "You're the son of a... I know what you did." And they may go, and they may take from their bowl that they have and give him what? 1 or a half of 1, and then go on. Next person may look at him and say, "You already got 1." You know what I mean? Because you deserve this, right? And so, but if that's your enemy, you're personally the one that's offended. You're the personally one attacked. And there they are in need. What are you supposed to do? If they're hungry, what? Feed them. If they're thirsty, what? Give them to drink. And if they are destitute and they can't even go and get the coal themselves, you don't give them coal. You give them your coals. All of them. You take the coals and you pour it on it, all of them. Because you can go back and get another one. He can't. See the difference? Now, when did this exist? At the time of who? Abraham. So why is Paul quoting it? Because it doesn't exist anymore in his what? Time. Unless you go way outskirts of the Roman Empire. Is that making sense now? So you don't sit there and, "You hungry? You thirsty?" No, that's not what we're talking about. It's the subject matter of giving to those in time of what? Need, especially those that are your what? Enemy. What are we talking about here? We're talking about water. Doesn't say wine, doesn't say beer. It says what? Water. Well, they didn't have beer back then. Yes, they did. They didn't have wine. Yes, they did. Why does it specifically say water and only water? Why does it specifically said beer, bread and only bread? Why not a chicken breast or turkey leg? Why does it say bread? Because those are symbolic metaphors. Everybody got that? What am I revealing to you? The greatest secrets of God's what? Word. All right.